So hello everyone, I'm Laura Wolber and I'm your host today for this presentation of the highlights of the Enea Cosmos Survey of Product Managers about DPI. Now before we get started and while everyone's still getting connected, I've got a few housekeeping items to go over. First, if you have a question, please use the Q&A icon on your control bar and enter it, and we're going to hold the questions till the end. We have 15 minutes for Q&A. If for any reason we can't get to your question, when you get the reply email from the webinar, there's a link where you can sign up on the Enea Cosmos site to have a one-on-one tech discussion. So hopefully you can get answered then. Second, I am going to launch a really quick 2-question poll just to check everybody's familiarity with DPI. And if you can take just literally 1 second to answer that, that would be great. And there we go. And third, there'll be a very brief feedback survey at the end of the webinar. It'll only take like 1 minute, and it'd be really helpful for us if you wouldn't mind filling that out. And finally, the webinar follow-up email will also include a direct link to download the full survey report. So let's get the discussion beginning with our panelists. If you guys wouldn't mind taking just a minute each to introduce yourself, that'd be great.
Yeah, hello, I'm Sebastian Sinold. I'm working at Cosmos Enea as a product manager, and I'm in charge of the Cosmos Props, the DPI sensor product line.
So hi, I am Danny Mitra Singh Chitlal, and I am working in the DPI business unit of Cosmos at Enea, and I'm looking after the Cosmos X engine, which is the core DPI engine of Cosmos.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon. So my name is Bilga Samahlali, and my role at Enea is technical account manager, basically responsible for the technical relationship with customers and prospects. And I'm selling these the products that Danny and Sebastian are specifying. So I'm based in the Bay Area, California. I'm happy to be with you this morning.
That's great. Thank you very much. Thank you for the intro. And now I'm going to share the results slide on my screen. So that should be coming up for you in just a moment. And I'll ask my panelist friends, is that displaying for you?
I think that's not full screen.
We're good to go. Okay. Now the first thing, just a minute, just an intro to the survey. This was a survey again of product managers who are working on solutions for these particular markets. So telecommunications, and that's telco operators as well as CSP, in enterprise networking, and also in cybersecurity. And the questions were sent out May through June. And the questions for our survey were developed by our 2 product managers here that are joining us today. So thanks to both of you. And first, now we're going to go through, these are the 4 sections, the first 4 sections, the way we organize the survey, and then we'll get to the Q&A. So we're going to start top level with the level of traffic visibility that the different product managers, solution product managers expected from DPI to deliver. And before we, I tell you what, before we do that, I'm just going to take a quick look at the poll. Oops, let me go back. Give me just 1 moment. And we've got, we're running about 50-50 in terms of folks that really know DPI well and some that are somewhat familiar. So maybe Danny, would you mind taking just a moment and doing a definition for us of DPI?
Yeah, of course, of course. So yeah, let me tell you a little bit about DPI then. So DPI means deep packet inspection technology. So basically, it uses dissectors to parse packet headers and extract so interesting information such as HTTP host or the SNI, server name indication from TLS, to correctly classify the different flows as a known protocol. For example, Facebook, or it can be HTTP, Quick, or whatever. So since the last 10 years, DPI has evolved a lot. So from packet inspection to today, including statistical methods and advanced heuristics, such as packet and flow behavior, which we typically use today to classify applications such as Skype. Well, in our jargon, we call this the next generation DPI, and this is precisely what we are doing, right? So DPI also includes the extraction of metadata. For example, you can get the attachment from emails, protocols such as SMTP. And this is very useful in cybersecurity use cases, for example, to detect malware, which might be hidden in the files or whatever. So finally, with the rise of encryption today, many people believe that DPI is the end, right? That is, it's not going to work anymore because everything is encrypted. But let me tell you, this is a wrong impression, because we have been doing lots of R&D efforts today, being creative, finding different methods and all that, to maintain the traffic visibility in encrypted traffic, even in TLS 1.3, which has lots of hype today.
That's great. Thank you, Danny. That's very interesting. And thank you for bringing all our listeners up to speed. And now we can get back to the results. So first up, it looks like 100% of the respondents said that application level visibility was a definite requirement for them, an expectation of DPI. And since it's really unusual to see 100% of the people agree on anything, maybe one of you could comment on that. How about you, Belgasem, since you're on the front line with the customers? Why is this so important to everybody across all markets and all solution types?
Yeah, I confirm this importance of the application visibility, and of course this is confirmed by the survey results. I would say from networking perspective, it's really a key to know what's going on in the network. What are the type of applications that are seen in the network? What are the most consumer bandwidth consumer applications and also users, especially from networking perspective. Knowing that information, you can either do traffic management, basically traffic steering. You can prioritize some business or critical application or critical user versus non-critical or non-essential traffic. This is from traffic management perspective. And also from infrastructure management, you can also deal with the troubleshooting. The DPI is capable of providing some KPIs of the network to know how the user experience related to this application. So this is from network perspective. And also from security perspective, it's also a key, knowing what type of application are there and see if they are allowed or authorized to be there or not. So this is a key for security, and I would say there is no security without visibility. This is very important. And beyond the application identification itself or application visibility itself, we can go deeper inside the packets and extract some metadata. Danny has mentioned the capabilities related to attributes, where we can extract SNI, host name, visited websites, URI, user agent. This is information that could be used to build a security policy, but also some extracting some files, some content of the applications that could be used to do the analysis regarding the malicious traffic, malicious files, malwares. All these are capabilities I provided by the DPI, and this is why we can see it's a key for across all these markets, whether it's networking or security. I hope that I have answered your question, Laura.
Yes, you did very well. Thank you very much, Belgasem. And I think you even answered a little bit of this one too. Let's talk about this one. The next one was, how would you rate the importance of DPI, various DPI uses in your product roadmap? And the one that came out voted most often to be of crucial top importance was creating rules based on traffic classification. And so that seems to tie right back to what you were saying, with the traffic visibility being used for things like routing and provisioning and sandboxing for those security and networking functions. Is that correct, Belgasem?
Yes, I confirm. This is completely in line what we said related to the metadata extraction and application visibility. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. And now for the one that came in number 2, in terms of those who rated it of top crucial importance, Seb, I think it was you that I recall saying that it was kind of interesting that machine learning had nudged its way into this ranking chart in the number 2 spot. So maybe you could take a minute and tell us what you think of this result, and also maybe what some of the DPI related uses of DPI related machine learning use cases are.
Yeah, sure. So actually, yeah, we see in those results that the rule-based detection is still the main focus today for product management, for product managers. And probably because in the past, there was a big trend about machine learning. And it mainly shows that the first attempts to deliver such product um, to discover actually unknown thread or things you cannot detect by rules generate a lot of false positive actually. Resulting in a lot of human analysis to make it efficient, and also a lot of tuning to remove the false positive. So it's quite a long process and has not been, to be honest, very successful so far. But we still see now a growing interest for machine learning techniques, especially on DPI data. To enrich, actually, not to replace the traditional IDS or traditional rule-based mechanism, but to create new detection method to try to detect unknown threats that we cannot actually qualify. And yeah, to do that, there's usually attempt to do quite baselining of the network with the DPI data. You can, for each of your device, know what the normal behavior, what usually it does. And when you learn actually this behavior, any significant variation comparing to this behavior can be seen as a threat or something that needs to be investigated in. So those methods can potentially make networks much easier to manage and secure as they become larger and more complex. So we see more and more security operators or network operations try to analyze or filter or alerts, combining machine learning techniques and traditional IDS data and mixing them together to create models and do automatic thresholding detection or baseline detection. And we see that is a very good complement to traditional rule-based stuff, allowing to discover things that you don't know yet, that you have not qualified yet. So I think the trend will continue to grow across years.
Okay, well, thanks. Well, that's really interesting. And that mirrors obviously what's happening in a lot of industries right now with machine learning, changing the way that, that things operate. And some of those specific use cases you mentioned lead us right into the next category. There are things like the anomaly detection and behavioral analysis, bringing in device data and correlating it with traffic, et cetera, that feeds into sort of these, this next generation DPI that's going to take care of some emerging needs that the classical functions don't address. So on this question, to start off this section, the product managers were asked, when you get beyond what you typically think of DPI doing, you know, flow classification, metadata extraction, what else do you expect or need from your DPI engine? And now for this one, the two top vote getters, and this was across, again, across all the different markets, was abnormal traffic detection and device identification. So first, let's see, Danny, would you take this one on abnormal traffic detection? What exactly does this mean? And as the DPI product manager, what are you doing to help customers address this need?
Yeah, of course. So abnormal traffic detection is actually about identifying traffic whose behavior is deviant, that is, it deviates from what the normal or standard traffic of a given protocol or for a given application should look like. So this is a typical usage of our next-gen DPI capabilities I talked about earlier. So in that sense, for example, we are working to identify applications which are doing tunneling over DNS or ICMP. So these are things which we can successfully identify today, as well as applications which actually cloak or evade traffic. That is, their main objective is to evade network policies by making traffic resemble that of another application. For example, they can craft headers, or it can have like several flows which are created to evade the different blocking or throttling policies which can happen on the network. So we use combinations of several classification techniques such as domain fronting detection, DNS caches, flow behavior, that is with fingerprint applications based on the behavior of the different flows and all that, such that we are able to uniquely identify applications and also baseline what normal application should be over a given protocol. For example, there are applications such as HTTP injector and all that, which are used to craft headers. And so we are able to identify these. And we are also able to identify today in a generic way what is evasive traffic. This is actually just released in the last couple of months. And so we have a generic layer where we are able to say that this traffic is actually a generic evasive protocol. So maybe it needs to be looked into. And this is actually something which we are constantly working on. And the more the people out there get creative about evasion or creating like traffic which is abnormal on the network, the more techniques we are working to find out to be able to catch this traffic.
Okay, good, thank you. And that seems maybe to be related there to the next category, obviously with the device identification in terms of looking for abnormal behaviors or maybe even spoofing what kind of device is actually connected. Let's see, Belkacem, you are on the front lines again with the customers a lot. Is this, have they requested device identification as another sort of traffic intelligence input to look for abnormal behaviors?
Yes, I confirm, this is one of the requests that came directly from the field and from the customers that they are asking for these features. And yeah, just let me say a few words about this device identification, what it is exactly.
Okay.
It's all about the identification of that device that is connecting. The DPIs will identify the traffic, if it is a Facebook, Skype, or WhatsApp, or SCADA, or IoT traffic. The device identification will be identifying the device, the type of the device that is generating that traffic, whether it is a sensor, whether it is a smart TV, whether it is a smartphone, laptop. All this information will be provided and requested by the customers to know what type of devices. And there are two main factors that participate to the raise of these features. One of them is, as you can expect, is the IoT. So we have a lot of new devices that come to the environment that are connected, different sensors, different smart TV, smart everything, I would say, that are connected. And the IT administrator, they don't know what's going on the network. They used to have only laptops, smartphone, and now they see multiple devices that are connected. And the other thing that is bring these features up is the, I would say, BYOD. So when people or everyone can bring their own devices and connect it to the network. So this gives a lot of headache to the security and new challenges to the security administrator to know what type of device is connected, especially if there is any particular differentiation between the IoT, smart TVs, and traditional devices. And also the brand name, maybe the brand name of these devices, whether it is Samsung or Apple or any other devices, and also some other typical and critical information, the operating system, what type of operating system is installed, whether it is Windows or Linux, iOS, and the version of the operating system. This is sometimes is very critical to know whether this device or type of device or even this operating system is allowed to be installed, especially knowing if there is some security breaches on those devices. So the IT administrator or security administrator will be able to identify or apply some policies around these devices based on this information provided by these kind of features. And to answer to this request, we have and we are happy to announce that we have introduced recently the LEAP device. It's a module that is responsible for the identification of those devices. Basically, it comes on top of the DPI. It's beyond the DPI itself, and it will be able to provide you the information about related to the device, type of it, vendor operating system, version of operating system. And of course, if this information is available on our website, feel free to go visit our website, eneacosmos.com, and download the related data sheet.
Great, that's good to hear that's out. And sounds like a really growing challenge with the bring your own device. Certainly, I think everybody's seen over the first 6 months of this year that's exploded, and the shift to the cloud is becoming more critical. And obviously too, as well, what kind of device makes up a typical network device now is certainly changing greatly with IoT and with all sorts of smart devices. So that's a new challenge, which is actually our next category, new frontiers. And in this section, the product managers wanted to get a better understanding of exactly what some of these new challenges were, but also some opportunities that were facing their customers and how or whether DPI fit in. So I'm going to go through these very quickly, share the stats. You can read further in the report. So make sure that we have time for more discussion and hit our Q&A on time. So first, the impact of encryption. So yikes, 90% of all respondents said that they were either being impacted now or would soon be from encryption, and that in some cases it was rendering their solution entirely ineffective. So that's really good to hear, Danny, that your team is making progress in addressing this challenge. And just to mention this for the audience, there is on the Cosmos side, there's an encryption resource hub with a lot of learning materials around encryption and the different strategies that are used to maintain visibility. So you may want to take a look at that. And the next one, a big one, was the cloud migration. And on this, overwhelming 80 to 100% of all vendors out there either have or will be offering a cloud solution. That's also a very impressive number. And let's look at this now by market. And as you can see with the IT network, 100% of those going to the cloud are going to take their DPI with them. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have security, where a full third are looking at having their DPI solutions remain on premise. And I think for this one, I will take this one and just do a quick comment on this, because this was actually a conversation that I recently had with Claes Laurence, who's from Genua, which is a company that specializes in critical cybersecurity for critical networks. And that means critical government sites as well as industrial infrastructure. And when we were talking about cloud-based security and networking solutions, he said that there are sensitive assets, at least in the markets they work with, that will always remain on premise, and that they would keep DPI on the ground with these assets. While still expecting, of course, DPI to be used by their cloud vendors. Specifically, in their case, as a security vendor, their solution combines DPI and intrusion detection and response on a segmented network, and together it makes a network detection and response system, which he thinks is a good complement to what's happening on the cloud. He did also mention that even organizations that were moving heavily to the cloud, he thought that in the end, no one was ever going to relinquish 100% of security to their cloud vendors, and that they would always want to maintain some strong DPI-enabled capabilities on the ground, in addition to what their cloud vendor was offering. So does the takeaway from class, does that resonate with you guys, with what you hear as well from customers?
Yeah.
At least on my side, yes. I totally confirm on that. That this, we totally agree that the migration to the cloud is a fact. Sensitive assets will still remain, some of them on the on-prem, and I would even extend it to the not only traditional offices, big offices or branch, even with the trend of a small office, home office, we still need some protection, some DPI on this kind of environment. So the DPI is still there and still considered as somehow on-prem.
Okay, thanks. That makes sense. Thank you. And if anybody is interested in that interview with Class, that's posted on the Enea YouTube site under their channels with the Expert Insight series. Okay, let's go on to the next one. And SASE. Wow, here, okay, it looks like this is another sort of mega trend, and it looks like half of all vendors are planning to come out with a SASE offer. So my question is, what exactly is SASE, and is that 50% figure surprising, given that I do know that it's a fairly new paradigm? So I thought maybe, Danny, would you mind taking this one?
Yeah, fine. Yes, SASE is the big trend today. I think since Gartner pulled it out like 1.5 years ago. Now this is the big hype. And well, as I see it today, SASE means service access, secure access service edge. And this is where networking meets security at the edge, but delivered as a service from the cloud when needed, right? So obviously, I think there are two aspects to SASE: the site interconnectivity aspect and the securing access aspect. So from this definition, I think the earliest adopters are obviously people who have been doing interconnectivity in that space, that is the SD-WAN players. So they are already in charge of interconnecting branch offices to corporate offices. And they have been facing with numerous security challenges, such as where a firewall has to be set up, which sites need VPN interconnectivity, etc. The proposed architecture of SASE actually answers to all of these and goes much further. So for the rest of the players today, like people in the firewall space, the CASBs, they are already in the security space. And as Belkacem mentioned, the transition to the cloud is already there. So I think they are going in that direction as well. For telcos, it's a bit different. Telcos are thinking about going to the cloud. Some have made the leap, but it's with a 5G focus when they are planning the future. And many of our customers today, the DPI consumers and all that, are in the service assurance space. And they don't foresee their future for the time being on the SASE part. So the 50% intention to migrate to SASE doesn't really surprise me, actually. But I think this is really going to change after the first deployments, which are happening today. And I think if we redo the poll next year, we'll have a different value.
Interesting. So thanks. And then looking forward to the future there and whether SASE is fitting into people's roadmap. That's our next section. So in this section, the questions, we're trying to go a little deeper to understand what plans were in the future in terms of DPI usage. You know, for a long, long time, this has been an old, long partnership where commercial grade solutions integrate commercial grade DPI because it's such a complex and resource intensive specialty. So the question is that going to continue? And here, again, I'm going to try to keep us moving along a little bit so we can make sure we get to our questions. And it was, will your future products include embedded DPI? So there's some very good news here for all three of you gentlemen. The answer was 100% yes. Although, as you can see right here, the issue you addressed, Danny, with encrypted traffic is really of high concern and needs to be addressed for everybody. On the next topic was going to the cloud. On this one, of all the vendors that were planning a cloud offer, the question was, will you include DPI? Again, good news, 100% said yes. And now for DPI and SASE. Now on this one, 90% of all the vendors that were planning a SASE offer said it would include DPI. There's a 10% that said no, and you know, based on your discussion, Danny, I'm not quite sure where that's coming from because it's SASE is a very application-aware paradigm. But it could be there were some folks not too familiar with SASE, but we'll never know. It was an anonymous survey, so that'll have to remain a memory mystery. Okay, and now the question about open source. So the first one is open source DPI libraries that you embed, a good alternative to commercial DPI libraries. And of course, this one has to go to you, Danny, as the, well, let's see. You know what? Because I'm going to come back to you on a second question that I have coming up. Belgasem, would you mind addressing this?
I think, yeah, what I have is people when they have to decide whether or not take a commercial DPI versus open source. I think there is. I have three main factors that had this to take this decision. The first one is technical, purely technical. How good is your DPI? And from technical perspective, the DPI is compared to related to the coverage application. How many applications do you cover? From business application, gaming application, IoT application, SCADA, all these applications, and also from accuracy. It means that when you classify an application, how good in you on classification rate or classification accuracy. And the other one is performance, of course. How fast the DPI will classify these all applications, and also how frequent you update this application. We know very well that okay, it's good to classify today maybe WhatsApp, but we never know in a couple of days or a couple of weeks is continuously upgrading this application. So the frequency of update is also critical. So this is from technical perspective, how good is the DPI? The second one is also important, and it's really a key differentiator, is what can you bring to them beyond the DPI? Yes, the DPI is a key for them to be embedded in their solution, but it's not the end goal. In fact, what they want to build a solution around the DPI. And then it comes to how you can help them to go quickly or fast go to the market. In fact, and this thanks to all the feature that comes on top of the DPI. We mentioned the lib device. We have also some file inspection for security purpose, giving some APIs regarding the analytics. All these key factors that help to decide. And the third one, it's also important, how you will support them. Yes, it's good to have, I would say, DPI for free, but at the end of the day, this DPI will end in a critical device, in a critical point of the network. They don't want to mess with the support. At any time, if there is any issue, they won't be supported with 24/7 very quickly to handle these issues. So the three main factors for decision with the comparison of the DPI commercial versus open source is that how good is your DPI from technical perspective, how you can help them go to the market very quickly, and how you will support them.
Okay, excellent. Now we've got one more question on open source, and Danny started to steal the ball out of your hands, but I was checking our Q&A, and the first question that's coming in is on VPNs and tunneling. So I am going to be right back to you in just a second to tackle that one. So the next question is about probes, and this time you did an excellent job, Belkacem. We'll go back to the product manager on this for the DPI probe though. So in this one, this was a little more split than the one with libraries, 50% no, 45% yes. So Sad, maybe you can help everybody understand kind of when open source is a good alternative with sensors and probes and when it is not.
Yes, of course. So first I would say that open source sensors are quite efficient to monitor small networks. I would say small networks when you get a throughput less than 100 megabits per second, for instance. And they're quite good at providing a first level of flow classification, but only focus on standard protocol, usually. So HTTP, SSL, DNS, the protocols that do not evolve over time. But they are very weak at detecting proprietary application like WhatsApp, Instagram, or Facebook, or any cloud services. Because keeping accuracy on detecting those applications require constant monitoring because it's not standard. So you need to constantly monitor the behavior of the application and constantly update your DPI with the new signature or the new detection methods that are needed to detect so. And open source projects are not intended to do that, having this full monitoring and updating infrastructure. There's also another challenge with open source probes is that the management and orchestration of a cluster of sensors is require very secure and efficient APIs actually to be able to start to scale the systems and to give different privilege to the different users. And that open source probes do not have solution to do that. And there's another important point is that, I mean, the cyber criminals also can read the open source code from the sensors, and they can easily detect all the weaknesses or the breaches of those tools, and find easily way to evade monitoring or, evade being detected by those sensors. Everything we are doing on encrypted traffic analysis, or as Danny said, evasive protocol detection, tunneling detection, is something that you cannot find in open source tools. So that's why for advanced threat detection, commercial DPI is still a must-have.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much for that, Sebastian. And now we can get to our Q&A. We've got kind of a long list. So Danny, the first question again that came in was about handling traffic that's using VPNs and tunneling.
Yeah, VPN and tunneling, that's a very interesting one. So actually there's lots of work being done today in Cosmos around this. So first of all, let's talk a little bit about tunneling. Well, tunneling can be identified in Cosmos. I would separate this in two parts. First of all, we identify rogue tunneling, that is, which is being performed by applications which are meant deliberately to tunnel some application data or whatever via a standardized protocol such as DNS or ICMP. I mentioned that a little bit earlier. So today we are able to identify tunneling which is performed, for example, by Iodine. Iodine is a famous DNS tunneling application that is basically you can go in an enterprise premise, use Iodine and stream your favorite movie and all that via DNS, and it's going to let the traffic out and in, and the other way around as well, because DNS is basically allowed. So these are standard DNS traffic, but inside you are having your other applications traffic, which is being tunneled inside. So we identify this in Cosmos technology today. And then there's also everything around standardized tunneling protocols, which are basically used in networks for the basic network functionalities. Here I'm talking about .1Q, GRE, GTP, Teredo, and all this. So most of these standardized tunneling protocols are obviously supported in Cosmos technology. VPNs is another story. VPNs can also be subdivided in two parts. I would say corporate VPNs, such as Cisco AnyConnect, for example, or consumer VPNs, such as ExpressVPN. In terms of behavior, they are very different. Corporate VPNs has a security functionality. That is, its job is to encrypt traffic from outside the enterprise premise to the enterprise premise and make sure that nobody on the public internet can access the data which is being transferred. That's how you can work safely from home and access all corporate resources, etc. So these will not use traffic evasion or cloaking capabilities I mentioned a little bit earlier. But consumer VPNs, they will, because they have another objective. The objective is actually to evade policing, which might be done by companies or service providers, etc. So in terms of complexity, identifying consumer VPNs goes beyond the traditional classification of the application standard traffic, right? It's about the identification and successful policing of all these cloaked and evasive flows. So as I mentioned, we have several techniques which we use today to fingerprint all these applications. We have an iterative approach where we test all these different evasive flows, block them, and try to figure out what are the new ones which are popping up until we are able to actually catch all the evasive traffic which the application is able to create. And up till now, we have been quite successful at doing this. And I think we are even better than the competition here.
Excellent. Right. Thank you very much. Let's get another one in here. So this one's about IoT. That's Internet of Things. Someone wants to know does DPI work on IoT traffic? Anybody want to respond?
I can take this one, yeah.
Okay.
So the answer is clearly yes, because connected devices are using IP protocols to communicate. So obviously DPI works very well here, and it's really in the heart of the DPI to detect those protocols. And many of them are standardized, like in the industrial world, you have the SCADA protocol family, for instance, which are well standardized and that obviously we support. So it's allowed to have a very deep understanding of how those connected devices are working. But the IoT also brings a new challenge. Aside detecting the flow, it's also detecting the device itself. As we talked previously, device identification becomes more and more important with that much variety of devices being connected on the network. And here the DPI has a key role to play to extract all the different signatures that allows to identify a device. So it could be a DHCP information, TCP window size, or TCP metadata, the user agent, for instance, and all those metadata allowed us to resolve the device characteristics, knowing which type of device it is, which vendor it is, what version is in use, what operating system is running, and all those information which are really key to understand your network can come from the DPI. And obviously, that's why also we made that move to device identification to provide the full solution between extracting the signature and then identifying the device. So yes, DPI has a key role to play in IoT world, clearly.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Seb. And there's another sort of similar question. This is asking about a particular type of traffic, and that is instant messaging, IM traffic, and how DPI works with that, with IM traffic.
I can take that question.
Okay.
Yeah, by instant messaging, yes, it's all about all these traditional applications, WhatsApp, Skype, I would say even Facebook Messenger, Google Hangouts, or you can even extend it to Microsoft Teams. All these are instant messaging, and of course we are able to identify them continuously. And I would say even more than that, beyond the application identification itself, we can go inside the flow and identify if this session is a file transfer or audio, video, just conferencing call or a chat. So the session is still encrypted but using some statistical techniques, we are able to see if the session is a chat or a file transfer or audio, video calls. So the answer is yes.
Okay, very good. And then we've got an interesting question, which is higher level. And this goes to the, as I mentioned, the long-standing and very deep partnership between commercial DPI vendors and the solution providers who embed that DPI. And Danny, I'm going to ask you about this one because I know that you, with the Live device recently coming out, that this is part of the thinking that you always have to do is how to structure it and have it as a separate optional module, integrate it in the product, etc. So this question, a little longer one, but how do you see your product change over time? Adding machine learning and device identification are large and costly initiatives. What's your ambition level, number one? And two, can we expect structural changes to packaging or licensing in order to bring in these sort of, to bring in these sort of DPI capabilities? Can you speak a little bit to that?
Yeah. So first of all, in our product strategy today, I think our listeners must have guessed a little bit. We are evolving the traditional DPI to go closer to the use cases, right? And many use cases of DPI are around security. So we are trying to provide, in terms of traffic visibility, more security-related features. So I talked a lot about evasion and all that, but there is not only evasion, we are like giving the possibility to extract files. We are creating additional modules. So Begasen talked about device identification earlier. We have a deep file inspection module in our product portfolio, whose job is actually to inspect files, check whether they are not MIME mismatches, and provide additional metadata. We are also thinking about like going to inspect the files, create maybe hashes of the files, which is already provided today by the file inspection library, but go beyond that. That is, match this against hash libraries which exist like VirusTotal and all that today, where you can actually see whether a file has been referenced to contain a certain kind of malware, etc. So our aim today is still OEM, right? That is, we're continuing to sell libraries, and Seb is continuing to create the probe. But the thing is, we are enriching with more and more functionalities. So from the IX Engine perspective, we are trying to add new libraries. That's what we commonly call modules. But at the same time, we are adding features in the standard IX Engine portfolio. For example, recently we added JA3 and JA3S and also HASSH hashing capabilities, such that these hashes can be used, for example, to fingerprint TLS sessions, and people can match these once again against databases which exist, or create their own databases to have the unicity of the TLS sessions which they have inside their corporate networks. So we are planning to move in a direction where we give more and more security features in an OEM way. I don't know whether I answered that, but that's
Yes,
the direction we are taking today.
Yes, you did. Thank you. That was very helpful, and that speaks to, again, part of the venture of this whole survey is to understand really what customers need and how they're using it today, but literally what are they looking at in the future in terms of challenges and opportunities, and what they expect you to deliver. And at the same time, of course, you have to navigate within what's most flexible in terms of a business arrangement to make sure that the OEMs can also have a very highly functional and profitable product with Cosmos embedded. So thank you, and I'm afraid we've still got some questions left, but I will remind you that in your email that comes out from the webinar, you do have a link if you want to continue a one-to-one discussion, and I'm sorry if we didn't get to all of them today. In that email as well, there'll also be a link for you to do a direct download of the full survey report. So we invite you to do that. And again, just a very brief survey at the end. We'd love your feedback. That'll help us do it better the next time around. And I want to thank Seb and Belgasem and Danny for participating in panelists. All those who are listening, thank you that took the time to participate in the survey. And for all those who are just joining as listeners, I hope you found this interesting and informative. And again, connect if you'd like to learn more about the technology and where it's going. So thank you all. Good day or good afternoon or good evening, depending on your time zone.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right.